I can't imagine being a child and trying to explain why I liked what I liked with any notable amount of depth. If someone pointed at Double Dash, for example, and said, "Hey, why do you like this?" I definitely wouldn't have been able to say, "I enjoy the artistic style of the game. The cartoony faces on environmental set pieces really set it apart from our own world and helped me feel more immersed in that fictional one." It would have instead been, "It looks nice." I feel like this explanation for why I like Double Dash now also applies to why I liked Double Dash back then. But my younger self just couldn't find the words for it and would instead give a vague answer that didn't fully encapsulate how I felt about the game. But that's the great thing about growing up. Now you can describe why you liked something back then instead of enjoying it for reasons you're not aware of. I've employed this line of thinking with Super Mario Sunshine, a game that I have quite a bit of history with. I'll let my 12-year-old self take the reins for a moment.
Hello, True Mario 8989 here, and we are gonna do a Let's Play on Super Mario Sunshine. I would just like to point out, this was my first Mario game I've ever played. Actually, it's the first video game I ever played. It's my favorite video game of all time, and I beat this game when I was 4.
Yeah, I beat the game when I was 4, when I was 12, sometime in between, a time after, and a time after that. I've played this game a lot. Probably because it's amazing. I'm not sporting any nostalgia shades here. This game really is super with a capital S. But don't get me wrong, I'm not here to praise its gameplay, its story, or even its soundtrack. I'm here to praise a different S word. This is Super Setting Sunshine. Let's take a look at all the platforming adventures Mario's gone on, dating from 1985 with the release of Super Mario Bros. To 2017 with the release of Super Mario Odyssey. In terms of setting, all the games here besides Sunshine seem bent on offering players as much contrasting diversity as possible in their levels. Oftentimes you'll see worlds come in grass, sand, tropical, forest, sky, mountain, and volcano, with some variations that order you play them from game to game. Even though some games don't follow this exact layout of worlds, the diversity in locations you visit is still pretty widespread. The Galaxy games, for example, have you buzzing around beehives, playing with toys, and traveling to plenty of other places that offer something completely different from the last. Though at the end of the day, they're just like these other games. They don't dare risk focusing their levels on one overall setting. It's as if they fear players are going to get bored if the environment isn't changed quick enough, and there's a constant need for the next level you enter to starkly contrast the last one you went to. But by trying to include as many diverse types of settings as humanly possible, from hot to cold, from light to dark, the sense of identity between games has more of a chance to become blurred for lack of a core focus. Instead of crafting a bunch of drastically different settings, Sunshine focuses on fully exploring a single setting, Tropical Island with Isle Delfino. This isn't to say that the game has no diversity in its levels. If that were the case, things would just get boring and repetitive. You do need some ounce of variance if you want to keep players interested. But what I'm saying is that instead of utilizing the elements of nature to create a sense of diversity, as most games do, Sunshine utilizes the culture of its setting's inhabitants to create a sense of diversity. We're first introduced to this culture in the opening of the game via the welcoming video.
Welcome to the sun-drenched tropical paradise of Isle Delfino. We're so pleased to welcome you to our beautiful home. Come enjoy a natural wonderland to which we've added...
Wait, go back, rewind. Is that Mario in the welcoming video? How is he in the welcoming video if this is his first time visiting Isle Delfino, and with flood on his back no less? And how is there already graffiti on the statue in this clip? Shadow Mario doesn't paint that on until Mario arrives. It's clean before that. Oh, so it's clean in this part of the clip, but not that part. Alright, okay. Timeline inconsistencies aside, there's no doubt the inhabitants of Isle Delfino have a strong sense of culture. They brand themselves as a friendly, relaxing tourist destination, boasting the world's finest resort facilities, a spectacular amusement park, and succulent seafood. These aspects of their culture and more can be found all around the island. You can tell the game wants you to know this too, as you're given tidbits of information when you click on each location via the map. Let's first take a look at our main hub, Delfino Plaza. Tourists get off the ferries here, in Isle Delfino's largest city. Attractions include the Shine Gate and Grand Pianta statue. We already saw the statue in the welcoming video, but the Shine Gate is greatly relevant to the main object you collect throughout the game, the Shine Sprite.
Shine Sprites are the source of power on Isle Delfino. They used to gather in great numbers at the Shine Gate.
In any case you need a reminder, the guidebook paraphrases that same description. So not only is the Shine Gate's design an impressionable one, its importance of gathering all the Shine sprites to bathe the entire island in sunlight makes it quite the memorable piece of architecture. And that's only one part of the plaza. There's the statue that was mentioned earlier, 2 bell towers, a lighthouse, and underground pathways that lead into each other. And who can forget Corona Mountain, the volcano that lords over this city and the glimmering ocean that surrounds it. This makes for quite a recognizable setting with equally recognizable inhabitants. This whole place is littered with piantas. These mountain folk are strong, sociable, and curious. The trees in their heads provide relief from the island's heat. They can be found offering food, offering fairies, requesting favors, relaxing by the beach, running around on fire, walking around aimlessly, standing guard, or sitting on rooftops chucking you through windows. Even the toads you arrived with can be found in a part of the plaza. This place feels so alive! Comparing it to 64's castle is a joke, and although the Comet Observatory's design is beautiful, it just doesn't feel as lively. I even find the way you enter levels in this place quite charming. Pieces of the plaza's architecture are buried underneath layers of goop, so when you clean it all off via a boss fight, you see them rise magnificently out of the ground, granting you full access to the level. Other ways of accessing levels involve warp pipes, staring at the sun, and blasting out of a cannon which belongs to a local that you can interact with. The point is, Sunshine uses this setting to its advantage. It could have only had warp pipes to get you places, but by directly using architecture in the hub as means for travel, it comes off as more fulfilling than jumping into a painting or walking into a room. Not to mention, unlocking a door or lighting up a dome is rather mundane compared to this spectacle. Speaking of levels, let's take a look at how they're all connected. If you watched my video about City Trial from Kirby Air Ride, you'd know just how much I appreciate a well-connected setting, and let me tell you, Isle Delfino takes the idea and blasts it to new heights. We can see here on the map that Delfino Plaza and Ricco Harbor are a straight shot from each other, and what do you know, if you go to either place and look from the right viewpoint, they can be seen from one another, and at the distance you'd expect too. But it doesn't stop there. Every level you travel to on this island can see other levels relevant to its location. Check out the different perspectives. Delfino Airstrip, Delfino Plaza, Bianco Hills, Ricco Harbor, Gelato Beach, Pinna Park, Sirena Beach, Noki Bay, Pianta Village, This insane web of connections of seeing levels from other levels doesn't exist in any other Mario platformer. Even Galaxy doesn't hold up in this regard. No matter where you look from the Comet Observatory, you can't see any of the main galaxies you visit throughout the game. So what could have been a wondrous connection between galaxies ended up being an endless void of stars, which, although pretty, leaves a lot more to be desired. As we can plainly see, Sunshine focuses on one setting, Tropical Island. The individual levels I've shown you focus on exploring each aspect of this island. Check it out. Bianco Hills is a wealthy village next to a giant windmill. Ricco Harbor is a fishing port home to many boats and a thriving tourist trade involving the fish market. Gelato Beach is the island's largest beach with a surrounding coral reef and a structure known as Shine Tower. Pinna Park is on a side island solely dedicated to entertainment through its many rides, both exhilarating and relaxing. Sirena Beach provides a high-quality hotel overlooking the sunset. Noki Bay has a huge waterfall, steep cliffs, and lofty towers, all of which are home to these smaller, more intellectual creatures known as Nokis. Pianta Village is the ancestral home of the Piantas, built in a giant tree as protection against wild beasts. These aren't your run-of-the-mill Mario levels. These are fully established locations with their own purposes and backstories. By the end of it all, the player will have gone through a fully developed fictional world, dripping with more uniqueness and depth than they will probably ever get from a game that just won't stay put in one place long enough to get any sense of meaning out of it. But now we've got to ask the question, why are these games so intent on such contrasting amounts of diversity in their levels? The answer is quite simple. It's safe. If you come across an environment you're not too fond of one world, you can be assured that it'll soon be over, as there are plenty of other worlds with different environments to go through. But with Sunshine, a game that firmly planted itself in a single environment, it risked potential for disaster. It needed some kind of way to engage players that didn't involve constantly switching up the setting, and managed to do so by creatively exploring its one setting through the use of its culture and inhabitants. I can't imagine being a child and trying to explain why I liked what I liked with any notable amount of depth. If someone pointed at Sunshine and asked, "Hey, why do you like this?" I doubt I'd be able to explain my stance all too well back then. But as of now, I'm satisfied.